Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It's brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. The Eagles just signed a tight end, Kyle Granson. We'll get to that in just a bit. Also, they signed a kick returner, a special teams ace earlier today. That happened back in the 2 o'clock hour of the show. And that was Avery Williams, who missed all of last year. I want to congratulate Paul in Delhaven and John in Summers Point. Paul and John, you have a chance to win Phillies home opener tickets or Metallica tickets for Lincoln Financial Field at our Phillies opening day watch party at Maynard's in Margate. We have another chance for you to qualify coming up this hour on the Sports Bash. All right, Football at 4 with Adam Caplan on this Friday edition of the show, and he joins us right now as the Eagles continuing to kind of put together a team here at a cheaper price. Adam, that's the key, right? They're trying to put together a team at a cheaper price as we take a look at the first week of free agency.
Yeah, Mike, I remember when I called Jeff Sunday night, because the night before free agency starts always on a Monday. You know, pretty much the doors open completely on Wednesday, but you could agree to deals on Monday. I let him know. Listen, here's kind of where I'm at. Here's what I've heard. That their budget for free agency is very low. First time I can remember hearing that, like the way it was explained to me, and that it just Howie Roseman would be bargain shopping. But this is Mike. This is like Kylan Granson is the guy that they just agreed to, according to his agency that represents him.
Yes,
Sports Trust. Kylan Granson is a guy that is typical of free agency. He just was an underachiever. He was drafted. He's basically an undersized tight end at 6'3 plus. Remember Trey Burton, Super Bowl winner with the Eagles tight end?
How can we forget Trey Burton? Philly. Right. He's a part of the play.
Well, no, yeah. I wonder if Kylan Granson could throw like Trey Burton. But anyway, Kylan Granson at SMU is an undersized tight end, 6'3", 240, 235. He was drafted to be a multi-purpose tight end, H-back, tight end, slot tight end, and it just never worked out, which is why the Colts are a team to watch for Dallas Goedert. Not saying they're going to trade for him, but that's a team that needs tight ends badly. They've never gotten it right there. But the bottom line is the Eagles are continuing their bargain shopping. We're going to give you some insight and some intel on all the players. But, yeah, granted, Avery Williams, you mentioned, about Avery Williams, Mike, is interesting. He was a change-up back for the Falcons pretty quick. Then 2 years ago, he suffered an ACL injury, and he now is just a kickoff returner and a coverage player. So that's another bargain shopping signing for Howie Roseman and the Eagles.
All right, so offensively here, let's take a little look. I mean, offensively, they have most of their team back. I mean, you've got everybody signed except for Becton. And other than that, they brought in a couple of interesting pieces, though, that might factor in. But for the most part, this offense has almost all 11 of its guys back.
Yeah, look, the only question is, Mike, now, with the Kenyon Green trade, who will compete, we expect, against Tyler Steen for the right guard job. By the way, he had a great press conference. He basically said what's happened. He's got to work on technique. And, he
I thought the technique part was the best part about it, though.
Yeah,
the fact that he acknowledged that, yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was great. And by the way, A.J. Dillon's press conference is great. The secret sauce of Howie Roseman, in terms of how he's turned his career around as a general manager, really starting in 2021, the character of the football team. You don't win a Super Bowl with just great players. You have to have a great locker room and obviously very good coaching. It's because the guys care and they buy in. And Kenyon Green was really good. I don't want to say contrite. He wasn't apologizing for anything, but he's explaining why he didn't get his job back and what he's gone through. So, yeah, they had Kenyon Green, of course, in the C.J. Gardner-Johnson trade. They had the two tight ends. Harrison Bryant, we detailed on Inside the Birds this week. I really like this signing. We actually, this morning on our show that dropped, now he's a number 2 tight end. He's a better football player than Grant Calcaterra. He'll be the number 2 tight end unless they draft someone who would be it. Like if they drafted a tight end that would not be starting, that guy would probably compete against Bryant for that number 2 job. Bryant is a better blocker than Calcaterra. He's more physical. And he was a outstanding tight end out of Florida Atlantic. So that Grant Calcaterra's got to prove to me that he can be more than just a guy to catch the football. So look, we know they're moving to move Goedert. Not a secret. They want to move his salary. We'll see what happens. But they're kind of looking at that position. By the way, anything they do in free agency will not stop them from drafting the tight end. That this doesn't have anything to do with it. Every single player, Mike, that they sign is for depth purposes as of now.
Yeah, and you mentioned Harrison Bryant, a tight end, and Kellen Granson, excuse me.
Kylan Granson,
excuse me.
Yes.
Both guys tight end, so it's pretty clear that they're either acknowledging that they need depth there or bracing themselves for the potential, as you've discussed, that they might lose Dallas Goedert.
Yeah, in our reporting, Mike, it's not that they don't think Dallas Goedert is good. They know he is. He's going to make just over $14 million. Also, we reported that his option bonus is not due now. It's not. They've got plenty of time. They could take this a while if they need to trade him. But they're looking to move his contract, and that's just the way it is. Howie's trying to cut cash spending. He has to, and he's trying to do that, and other teams have told us this. It's very clear. It's not a secret around the National Football League. I like the A.J. Dillon signing, Mike. He'll be the number 2 back. Shipley will be the 3. Shipley, to me, Mike, has got to prove that he can block if he wants to have a chance to play on third down. That's the one thing about this with Kenny Gainwell signing with the Steelers. We don't know who their third down back is. We know that Barkley has gotten better as a pass protector, but he's not Gainwell's a pass protector and all that he does on third down. So they have to figure that out. That right now is up in the air.
Granson, by the way, last year with the Indianapolis Colts, 14 catches, 182 yards. When he does do well, yards per catch, he gets about 11 yards a catch in his career. So there you go. Kylan Granson just signed by the Eagles just a couple of moments ago. You mentioned A.J. Dillon, interesting signing there because he didn't play last year with the injury there, and he'll obviously be, you would imagine, behind Barkley. I guess him and Shipley can battle it out for that number 2 spot. But on the offensive side, it doesn't seem like a lot has changed. But on the defensive side of the ball here, you brought in Josh Uche, a guy who was a high draft choice, Adoree Jackson, a veteran player. How do those guys kind of factor in? Because there are a lot of changes on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, and Mike, let me just give you an example of where Adoree Jackson is in his career, so people understand that he's a guy looking for a role and is not a lock to make the team. Though you would think he would because they have no depth. The Eagles right now at corner. Adoree Jackson last year, Mike, when he re-signed with the Giants, this is how his career fell off because he missed a lot of time with injury. Last year, he re-signed for 1 year and $1.75 million. That's backup money, and he signed right at the start of he signed on September 2nd, right at the start of the season, and he really was not a starter for them. He was a part-time player. So, Mike, he's just here. Based on our intel, we think every free agent they signed for less than $2 million a year. Think about it? Why would Jackson, who got $175 last year, get more than he got last year? That's unfathomable considering he wasn't really a full-time starter. So he's in the mix is a scouting term. He's looking for a role. Right now, the starter opposite Quinyon Mitchell is not known yet. We know they're going to try to address the position in the draft. We'll see. We outlined this on today's show. Howie Roseman's always been high on Adoree Jackson, liked him, tried to sign him at least once over his career. And Mike, he's really not a nickel player. He's an outside corner. When he was really good, Mike, now I know he had a ton of injuries in his career with the Titans, he still could really run. He was above average to good corner who was explosive and twitchy as a scouting term, but he's not that player anymore. You don't really know what he is until you get him. And they have a hole, Mike, at left cornerback. It's wide open right now, and Jackson's in the mix right now for that.
Yeah,
job.
Sure. I mean, you would imagine, and this is kind of the theme. Find people that can make you compete and not get handed a job. Right? You have to beat a veteran player out. Tyler Steen, you're going to have to win a job over a former first round, but we don't want to just hand it to you.
Yeah, and I like that. Look, Green confirmed that he had a top 30 visit, which is each team gets 30 pre-draft visits. It's a guy the Eagles really liked. And Greg Cosell told us that in his tape study for that draft, he was a legit first-round pick. There was no question he was. Now, he hasn't played like it at all, even when he was healthy. But you know what? When you've got the best in the business, Jeff Stoutland, you obviously Jeff's hit rate is phenomenal. So you know the Eagles are hoping that he'll not only push Steen and let the best player in training camp win. You know, with Dillon, look, the Eagles are expecting him to be the number 2. He passed his physical, but he didn't, as you said, Mike. He didn't play last season. He did play in one preseason game last year. We don't know how effective he can be because he's got to get his timing back. But they've clearly signed him to be a number 2. I could tell you as a fact. He just has to prove it. Defensively, you mentioned Josh Uche. Mike, look, the last 2 seasons have been a disappointment for him after that really good season 3 years ago when he had 11.5 sacks. It wasn't just those individual plays, which are sacks. Really relentless pass rusher at his core. He just does not look like the same player, very ordinary or below average. He was in a scheme that did not fit him. He needs to be in the kind of odd man scheme that the Eagles use, an odd man front. He'll be a stand-up pass rusher. He'll compete for a sub-package role, which, Mike, is a good role for him. And look, the Eagles need depth at edge, and this is what the Eagles are hoping for. He could give them something on third down or a passing situation.
Yep, and you know, we just talked about Adoree Jackson. Let me get quickly from you. Were you surprised to see Darius Slay after saying Detroit or Philadelphia, and he's in Pittsburgh?
No, because Detroit went a different direction, Mike, at corner. That's what happened. So that $10 million that he got from Pittsburgh because DJ Reed. No offense to Darius, he's a better football player, and DJ Reed that left them. That Detroit is Terrion Arnold, who's a first-round pick last year, and I know they want to get Ennis Rakestraw, who was a second-rounder, who was hurt last year, on the field. So Slay had no chance to go back to Detroit after that. But look, they gave him 1 year, $10 million, fully guaranteed. Now he was going to make $16 million this season with Eagles. Eagles were obviously not going to pay that. None of it was guaranteed. So most likely this will be his last season as an NFL player. And he actually ended the season pretty well. That's why the Eagles left the door open. But I just didn't get the sense, based on what he got with Pittsburgh, $10 million would have been on the table with the Eagles.
All right, spending a couple minutes with Adam Caplan from the Inside the Birds podcast, Football at 4. And don't forget to check out all the Inside the Birds platform, everything that they offer. They're doing unbelievable off-season stuff here, a lot of podcasts, a lot of updates, a lot of intel, a lot of insight. There's a lot of unsigned guys here, Covey, Campbell, Uzama, Mekhi Becton, obviously the biggest, Fred Johnson, Jack Driscoll, LaRaven Clark, 2 on defense. Graham, we think, is going to retire. Avonte Maddox. So anybody that comes back from that group.
I would be surprised if Becton's back. I just, based on the intel we've gotten for the last 4 days or 5 days, as it were, I'm not saying he won't, but I don't do percentages, but I think the odds are against it. Now, look, if
what's taking so long with him?
Here's what I was told. I think he missed 34 games over his first 3 seasons. One of the, he's got the one leg where he's a very big brace on it. With him, I know he stayed really healthy last season, which was a great story for Mekhi, and he's a Super Bowl winner. He could play guard. He could play right tackle or left tackle. That's not the issue. The issue is you're not willing to commit starter money to a guy who's got a major injury history. I know, and he showed he could play right tackle with the Jets, and that should help him get a job. But he's not. We never believed that he was going to get the money other people thought he was going to get. When teams put together an offer, it's based on the history of the player with everything that's happened to him. And you can't ignore what happened with Mekhi. It's a fact. And unfortunately, that's hurt him in free agency. So now, if he's got hat in hand, which is a sort of a personnel term, if it comes, hey, listen, I'll come back for what I got last year, $3 million plus upside to $5 million. I mean, I would think the Eagles will look at that. But remember now, Mike, Fred Johnson's still out there, who did a good job as their swing tackle. By the way, the Eagles still need it. They have a need. We'll talk more about this Tuesday, and we'll see what remaining needs they have. They still need a swing tackle. They don't have that guy right now.
All right, Adam Caplan from the Inside the Birds podcast, and, of course, you can get that on all podcasting platforms. And don't forget their YouTube channel. Just search Inside the Birds and right here on Football at 4. Adam, we will talk to you next week, pal.
Sounds good, thanks.